It's all about truth. All of it. Every single thing. All boils down to the truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you free. All right, we are live. Welcome to the broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dan Dicks, your host here at Press for Truth. We're going to be live for the next little while, covering some of the news of the week, taking some of your questions. Please share this live broadcast. Let people know we are, in fact, now live. And if you happen to be catching this as a rebroadcast, if it is not live right now, that means you need to subscribe to me on Rumble, because that's where I'm taking this one live today, guys. Links for that are located in the description below. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Let me make sure we are, in fact, live. All right, we are. JNet in LA says, wow, is this the first live? It's not my very first one on Rumble. I have done a little test live Rumble stream once before. And you know what? Today, it's the end of the week. There's all kinds of crazy news that I wanted to cover. So I decided we're going to go we're going to go live for this one today, guys. So I'm going to try to pay attention to the stream, to the chat. And as I said, we'll answer some of your questions. But as you can tell probably from the title of this video, today we're going to be looking at some of these stories. No human remains have been found 2 years after claims of mass graves in Canada. Now, this should not come as any kind of surprise to PFT viewers, as I started covering this right from the very beginning, guys. As we see here, way back in June of 2021, I put this out. The truth about residential schools' mass graves, it wasn't genocide. It amplifies the war on Christianity. Again, this is June 25th of 2021. I put that out. Followed that up with this one. The Pope's apology perpetuates the mass graves and genocide hoax. Followed that up with this one. Kamloops mass graves debunked by academics as the biggest fake news story in all of Canada. And then I put this one out, guys. Canada Day canceled? These are the people who want the churches to burn. I don't know if you remember, they wanted Canada Day canceled, and people went around burning churches. So I went around interviewing people in the streets of Vancouver about that, and they were in favor of burning these churches because of what they believed was happening at the residential schools. And then even just this year, just like a month ago, I put this out. Unmarked grave investigation comes up empty. No criminal activity found. Surprise, surprise. This is all a whole bunch of lies. Justin Trudeau is literally kneeling down in front of nothing. Anomalies that turned out to be nothing more than rocks under the ground. So I must say, when I see this, 2 years later, and guys, I was, a lot of people hated me 2 years ago for saying this stuff. I lost a lot of subscribers. People were like, how dare you, Dan? Well, I don't know, if those viewers are still around, maybe now that mainstream media posts like the New York Post, for example, is saying it, maybe you'll believe me. So yeah, it looks like I've been vindicated after 2 years of horror stories about the alleged mass graves of Indigenous children at residential schools across Canada. A series of recent excavations at suspected sites has turned up no human remains. Again, surprise, surprise. In other Canadian news, guys, Canada has just issued 2S LGBTQI plus LMNOP travel advisory for the US, whatever the heck that means. The genius bureaucrats in Canada have issued either a LGBTQS or a 2S LGBTQI plus travel advisory for the United States. I mean, depending on which news source you pull your information from and which acronym is popular this week, the country has updated its international travel advisory to warn members of the LGBTQ plus community that they may face discrimination in the United States. And guess what? They don't specifically say which places in the United States where you may face discrimination, just the US in general. A bunch of racist bigots down there, I guess. It's just absolutely crazy. Speaking of craziness in the US, look at this, guys. Proud Boys leader sentenced to 17 years in prison over the January 6th riots. Proud Boy leader Joseph Biggs has been sentenced to 17 years in prison as a terrorist. This is absolutely crazy. I actually know Joe Biggs personally. You know, we've hung out. We spent some time together. We went to a restaurant, a Texas Roadhouse Grill restaurant in Austin, Texas once, and we had dinner. We had steaks. The man told me stories over dinner of how when he was, you know, in Iraq, Afghanistan, when he was deployed, he was instructed by his leaders to destroy certain opium fields and other ones they were ordered to protect. And right then and there, he knew something was very wrong with this. And so he started, you know, speaking out against his government, and now he's facing 17 years for the huge setup that was January 6th. Now, again, I called it from the very beginning, ladies and gentlemen, literally day one. Look at this tweet from January 6th, 2021, the day it was going on. I put this out. Remember this image during the BLM demonstrations? If they wanted to protect the Capitol building today, they would have. It seems to me this is being allowed to happen. And knowing their modus operandi is order out of chaos, this could get ugly. Let's hope it doesn't. Well, now it has gotten very ugly with Joe Biggs facing 17 years. I followed this up the very next day. Look at this, January 7th, 2021. Yesterday, Washington's elite politicians were all in one building. That heard a current threat from Iran being investigated by the FBI. I don't know if you knew about that. Yet it was incredibly easy for Joe Schmo and Sally Soccer Mom to just storm their way in. This was a setup, plain and simple. And one day after that, guys, on January 8th, 2021, I put it all together in this video. You're being lied to. Proof the Capitol building insurrection was just a setup. I followed that up this year with this one. You're still being lied to. Proof the Capitol building insurrection was a setup, version 2.0. Trying to drive it home, ladies and gentlemen. But now, as we will see, guys like Joe Biggs, who, as I said, I personally know, facing 17 years for this huge setup by the government. It's absolutely insane. We're also going to look at this, Musk's X, to collect biometric information and employment data. Twitter can now harvest your biometric information, including fingerprints, face recognition, eye tracking data, as Musk's site quietly updates its terms of services for safety purposes, of course. And in other Big Brother news, NYPD is now going to monitor Labor Day parties using surveillance drones. Yeah, rowdy partiers in New York City this Labor Day weekend may not be greeted by a police officer telling them to keep it down, but rather an eye in the sky. Again, talk about Big Brother on steroids, guys. We're going to talk about all of this stuff and much more in this video. Really quickly, though, before we do, I'd ask that you check me out here at pressfortruth.ca/donate. If you appreciate my efforts to bring you this information, here you can do a one-time donation with PayPal. You can do Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies by clicking there. You can join me on Subscribestar, guys. This is a great way to sign up for a monthly reoccurring contribution. I have been kicked off of Patreon, so this is a great alternative to that. You can also send me an e-transfer. It's very easy, particularly if you're Canadian. You can send that to dan@pressfortruth.ca. Or if you want to keep things old school, guys, you can send stuff to my P.O. box. Links for all of this are located in the description below. Thank you so much to everyone who's taken the time and effort to support my work here at Press for Truth. Now, I want to start with this no human remains found 2 years after claims of mass graves in Canada. But I'll remind you, when it happened, I put out this video immediately, the truth about the residential schools' mass graves. It wasn't genocide. I said hundreds of bodies of Indigenous children have recently been discovered, in quotes, at burial sites near residential schools in Canada. And this got a pretty large portion of my audience pretty upset with me. So a couple of days later, I put out a post on Facebook to try to explain my position on this a little more clearly. You know, because people were rather upset with the way that I described things. So here's a post that I put out back on June 28th of 2021 describing a a little bit more in depth my views on this. It is deplorable that the Canadian government allowed Native children to be kidnapped and forced into schools for the purposes of assimilation. I mean, that is messed up on so many levels. The RCMP of their day were monsters for doing that. Stories of abuse and rape by priests demand justice to be done, and they will certainly deal with God's wrath on Judgment Day. Now, here's the part of a lot of the people seem to be missing. Back then, a lot of children were very sick, both from disease and malnourishment. On top of that, living conditions were not up to par for children, and many got sick while away from home, causing their untimely deaths. Tuberculosis was rampant in children at the time, and many were entering the schools with the disease. So yes, some children were actually killed on purpose, and that must not get overlooked, but the majority died from starvation and disease, which was not on purpose. What happened was a terrible atrocity. No child should ever be forcefully removed from their parents, all right? But today's far-left activists want to exaggerate what happened so as to paint Canada as a systemically racist nation that needs to be destroyed so that their Marxist utopia can replace it. What the Catholic Church did was downright evil, but that has nothing to do with Christians today. So please, stop burning and vandalizing churches. That is not how we move forward together on this issue. Canadians are not the enemy. The government is. And again, I was pleading with people to understand, where I'm coming at from this and to point the finger at the real enemy, because they were going around burning down old Catholic churches because of this news of the mass graves that were found, when none of the bodies have even been excavated to this day, ladies and gentlemen. So once again, let's take a quick look at this. After 2 years of these horror stories, we're now finding no human remains have been found. Some academics and politicians say it's further evidence that these stories are unproven. This group of Indigenous people, also known as the Pine Creek First Nations, they excavated 14 sites in the basements of Our Lady's Seven Sorrows Catholic Church near the Pine Creek residential schools during 4 weeks during the summer. And these so-called anomalies were first detected using ground-penetrating radar. By the way, the lady who discovered all of this through her work using ground-penetrating radar openly said, way back when she discovered this, that this is not definitive proof. She said this is just a preliminary thing. Not until we have full excavations and we actually dig up some bodies will any of this be proven to be true. But this didn't stop the mainstream media, the politicians like Trudeau going to these fields and kneeling down, people going out and burning these churches, and everybody claiming this is definitive. But it never was. And still to this day, it isn't. Not a single body has been found. He referred to these efforts as the initial excavation, leading some to think there's more that are planned. He says, I don't like to use the word hoax because it's too strong. There are also too many falsehoods circulating about the issue with no evidence. That's Jacques Rouliard, professor of emeritus at Department of History, that he said on Wednesday. Nonetheless, he welcomes more excavations because of the enormous adverse publicity and stain left on Canada after the first reports of alleged mass graves. Again, guys, if you haven't seen my previous coverage on this, I will put links in the description for all of the sources for today's video. I've covered this extensively, as you can see. This video, this video, this video, this video, this video. Again, showing you all the lies of this so-called mass genocide hoax. So again, nice to be vindicated once again. Guys, I want to remind you to share this live stream, and don't forget to check the links in the description to where you can support my efforts. I want to quickly take a look here. I'm just using my phone to go through some of the comments. If you have any questions, be sure to put multiple question marks. I'll try to scan through and find that. Hi, Dan. I've been listening to you for years. Found out about you through Dollar Vigilante. Cool. Thanks for watching. Yeah, Jeff's a friend of mine. Lots of good times I've been had there with that guy. And I appreciate his efforts to share my work because it's brought in you here. So that's great. The hoax is in, everything is BS. Yes, I would have to agree. As you will see as we continue to cover that in this video. Dan, I appreciate your work. You survived what many others have not, banned and destroyed. Yes, thank you. Yeah, my YouTube channel with over 275,000 subscribers was officially terminated in November of last year. But I saw it as a blessing in disguise, where I started to really focus on, BitChute and Odyssey and Minds and Rumble and Hive and Bastion and all these other really good platforms that I'm on have actually turned out to be far better than what, the kind of reach I was getting on YouTube. Highly censored over there anyways. So yeah, it's all good. Another psyop, says Helen157. How about Trudeau kneeling and mourning their deaths? He's such an a-hole, says Helen. Yeah, exactly. Like, this is pure, you want to talk about fake news. Like, look at this guy. This is fake propaganda right here. And it has been thoroughly debunked by myself. I made a different email here. Lies! This is all pure lies. So yeah, thank you for your comments. But guys, let's get back to the crazy news of the day. Look at what's going on with Joe Biggs. This is absolutely insane. A federal judge on Thursday sentenced Proud Boy leader Joseph Randall Biggs to 17 years in prison, more than a lot of murderers receive, after calling for the destruction of a fence at the U.S. Capitol during January 6th. Guys, how many people remember the head of the Proud Boys was actually an FBI informant? I put this out way back when it came out, exclusive. Proud Boys leader was prolific informer for law enforcement. We're talking about Enrique Torrio, the leader of the Proud Boys extremist group, has a past as an informer for federal and local law enforcement, repeatedly working undercover for investigators after he was arrested in 2012. And guess what? The FBI may have had up to 8 informants in the Proud Boys around the time of the January 6th riots, the New York Times has reported. And now, one of these members who got roped into this by these FBI informants is Joe Biggs, again, a man I know personally. We've broke bread together. We've shared some time in Austin, Texas together. He shared his stories with me that lead me to believe he genuinely does care about his country, and that he's genuinely a good guy who's not the kind of person to use violence as a means to, achieve something evil. He sees things going wrong within his country, and he got caught up in this whole giant nothing burger that is January 6th. 39-year-old Biggs is the first of the Proud Boy leaders sentenced after being found guilty of seditious conspiracy in May, along with 5 others charged. Which remind us, instigator Ray Epps, who's totally not a Fed, remains free to this day. Oh, guess who else remains free to this particular day? He may be sentenced for other things, but yes, the FBI informant to this day has yet to be put in jail. Biggs was also convicted of conspiracy to obstruct official proceedings, obstruction of proceedings, conspiracy to use force. It goes on and on. But they're trying to claim that the man is a terrorist. Again, this is a U.S. war veteran. This is a man who put his life on the line for the country. He comes back, he sees just an absolute mess, gets involved in that protest that is apparently run by a whole bunch of FBI informants, and is the one going down. It's just absolutely insane. I hope, that this is going to somehow be overturned or appealed. I mean, the guy is not a terrorist by any stretch of the imagination. This whole January 6th thing, I can't believe has come around to this. People being put behind bars for like 17 years. Guys I know, like Joe Biggs. It's absolutely insane, guys. So just wanted to bring that to your attention. Don't forget, you were lied to about what happened at the Capitol building. I put that out like 2 days after it happened. The day it happened, I was trying to warn you. This is a huge setup, and tried to reiterate that this year with this version 2.0 as new footage was released, and here we are. Joe Biggs getting sentenced to 17 years. Absolutely crazy, ladies and gentlemen. As we've said in other news, we're going to be looking at Elon Musk's idea to collect biometric data information. The social media platform formerly known as Twitter can now harvest your biometric data and DNA. A new update quietly added to the platform's privacy policy says that X now has permission to harvest its users' fingerprints, retinal scans, voice and facial recognition, and keystroke patterns. The update would mean that anyone who uses fingerprint verification to log into the app from their phone, post selfies or videos to the platform, or speak their mind on X Spaces could see their unique biometric data cataloged by the company. The new policy, which describes its interest in users' biometrics as for safety and security of identification purposes, also added that the platform's intent to scrap up data on users' job history, their educational background, and their job search activity. The move follows nearly a year full of turmoil for the microblogging app, which has included Musk requesting that its users pay subscription fees for premium services and verification, part of his larger plan to recover from cratering advertising revenue. And again, it shouldn't really come as much as a surprise to PFT viewers, because we talked about the day after Musk acquired Twitter. I put out a video. I probably should have had that queued up, but you can find it using the search on my website. That he was going to be turning Twitter into X, the everything app. You see, he has this vision of copying what the Chinese WeChat app has done. They got like 1 billion users. They use it for everything: social media, banking, just regular day-to-day life stuff. This is the plan for Musk's Twitter, now X. And as we see now, this probably, DARPA plant is getting verified users and others to willfully hand over their biometric information to the platform. So this is, pretty big brother news. Again, this shouldn't be much as a surprise to PFT viewers, as I also covered that one extensively. And speaking of, big brother, look at this. Like, this is the kind of stuff that used to just be in movies, but now it's, I guess most people consider it normal. The NYPD said Thursday it's going to use surveillance drones to monitor backyard Labor Day parties, ensuring that they don't get out of control. The drones are going to be responding to non-priority calls and priority calls, NYPD assistant said. So, for example, if we have a 311 call on a non-emergency line, where if a caller states there's a large crowd or a party in a backyard, we're going to utilize our assets to go up and check out that party and to make sure the call is founded or not. We'll be able to determine how many resources we need to send to that location for the weekend. We'll have our drone team out there starting tonight all the way into Monday morning. Critics of the plan obviously warn the drone's use in the manner could constitute a violation of privacy and civil liberties. Yeah, you think? The move also appears to violate the city's Post Act, which states that the NYPD must publish impact and use policies of their surveillance technologies used at least 90 days prior to their implementation. While the NYPD did release an unmanned aircraft systems policy, the claims that the drone would be only used for serious incidences such as search and rescue, disaster responses and active shooters, and hostage negotiations, well, that all turned out to be a lie. Now they're just using it to monitor you in your backyard. Again, Big Brother on steroids. And that wasn't bad enough. Some of the things that are going on in the United States, Canada is shockingly now suggesting that you don't travel to the U.S. if you happen to be a member of the LGBTQ LMNOP community. The genius bureaucrats in Canada have issued their warning for travel advisory, depending on what popular acronym you use this week, 2S LGBTQI plus LMNOP. The country has updated its international travel advisory, warning members of the community that they may face discrimination in the U.S. Again, they don't discuss what states in particular, just in general. The U.S. is bad in general. What we're talking about here is a number of states who are starting to, stop child mutilations, and stop, pornographic materials from being read to like school children. That's what the big bigoted bad people in the US are apparently, bad for doing, and why this woke Justin Trudeau's feminist transgender activist Canada is so scared of anybody going to the US. It's absolutely crazy. I've never really had much of a desire to go to the US, but now it's looking a little more attractive as they gain more sanity in this crazy world that we live in. The advisory was put into place after at least 18 US states passed laws that limit or ban certain things that are relevant to the community, including gender-affirming medical care for minors and teaching about sexual orientation in schools. We don't get it. So in other words, be careful driving on a highway in Florida because you can't pull over and give your minor a child sex change? The tribal advisory follows the U.S. Department of Homeland Security's warning in May about threats of violence against the LGBTQ plus community. There's been no word on whether or not Homeland Security warned, including the 2S and the I portions of the Canadian acronym. Guess what, guys? They are the ones who get overly violent. If you didn't see on the Trans Day of International Visibility a few months back here in Vancouver, I went to cover that. Activist Billboard Chris ended up showing up, and he was violently attacked by some transgender activists who completely unhinged choked him by the throat and threw him to the ground. That was my probably most viral filmed clip. I got 9 million views within just a couple days, but it showed you just the extent to which this community is willing to go to where they consider words as violence, and they're willing to push it into violence. They are the ones, more often than not, who show signs of hostility or actual violence. But now the community is claiming that it's violent in the U.S., that their states are passing laws that would protect young children from being, mutilated and sterilized, and protect young children from being brainwashed with pornographic propaganda in their schools. This is what Canada has become, that they're warning you about the U.S. because of that. Absolutely insane, guys. Just wanted to bring that to your attention as well. I hope we're not forgetting anything. That's what I wanted to cover today. The no human remains were found. Again, viewers of this channel shouldn't be surprised. Been covering this for the whole 2 years that it's been happening. This travel ban is absolute nonsense. What's happening with Joe Biggs is absolute nonsense. I called it out as the nothing burger that it was absolutely from day one. Guys, if you want to see my coverage on that, again, links for all of this stuff are going to be located in the description below. No big surprise about the Big Brother moves and how Musk is moving X towards the Everything app that's going to essentially be the one to rule them all. Just wanted to bring all of that to your attention today, ladies and gentlemen. And maybe we'll call it for a broadcast house for today. Let me go back to this real quick. I'll refresh this, and let's see if we got any new comments or questions. Bear with me, guys. Let me do this real quick. We got to refresh. We need more clicks, thumbs up. Click that thumbs up button, guys. Let's get this stream going, and maybe we'll do this a little more regularly. Oh, wow. Somebody gave me $2 super chat on Rumble. Very, very cool. Thank you so much for that, Helen157. I used to regularly receive super chats when I would do live streams on my YouTube channel, but that has since been terminated. Had no community guideline strikes, no copyright strikes, no warnings on the channel. They deleted it because of my coverage of the child grooming, and my video on Balenciaga actually is what caused my channel to get terminated, in case you didn't know. But thank you so much for that super chat. I don't know if we're still calling that here on Rumble, but thank you for that. Really appreciate it. All right. Thanks, Dan, for all you do, says JNet in LA. It's tough out there. Yes, it is. Trying to scare people, says Helen. Yep, thanks, Dan, for all you do. I already saw that. I follow your work. You're a little crazy. Yeah, I am. I don't know if you're talking to me, but if you are, I suppose maybe I am. Liberals are insane, says Janette in LA. All right. Got a nice little conversation going on. Only 82 people tuned in right now. Thank you to the over 8,000 subscribers I now apparently have on Rumble. Again, I had 275,000 subscribers on YouTube, and once that was terminated, not even like a small percentage of them migrated off of that platform onto all the others. So guys, if you do appreciate my work, make sure you subscribe to me. As you see here at the very top of my website, you got Minds up here. You got the Rumble logo right there. You click on that, boom, it'll take you to my Rumble. You take you to my BitChute account by clicking on there. Odyssey is another great platform. If you're not familiar with that, subscribe to me there. Thank you to look at that, 25,000 subscribers over here on Odyssey. Absolutely awesome. And again, I'm now posting videos to about 8 different platforms. I do have an old backup YouTube channel, but I'm not going to put any kind of effort into that because why would I when they could just take it all away again at the snap of a finger? So I would strongly encourage you to subscribe to me on these other platforms. If you're not catching this live right now, be sure to subscribe to me on Rumble so you can catch the next one, as I will be doing more of these live streams moving forward. And I guess that's about it. Let me check in one last time, see if there's any other comments or questions. Affiness says, thanks, Dan. Been a fan since Ottawa. I assume you mean since my coverage of the massive clampdowns at the trucker protest in Ottawa. Or, you know, I've been going to Ottawa for years. I started Press for Truth in 2006. Went down to Ottawa, like, back then to make videos, which it's all out there. You can go back into the archives and find this stuff. Saw How They Hurt You and the protests in Ottawa. Yeah, if people don't remember, I took a baton to the ribs by an absolute thug of a cop who hit me so hard, I'm literally still dealing with that sometimes. Sometimes when I sleep on my side, I can still feel it, and sometimes when I'm driving, just the way the seatbelt crosses right across where he hit me, I'm still feeling it. It's like 2 years later. It's crazy. But thank you for that. Thank you, Dan. Keep up the great work, says Gary. All right, guys, I want to thank all you guys for being loyal viewers of mine, whether you've just tuned in over the last couple of years throughout this COVID-1984 scamdemic, or maybe you've been around since 2006 when I first launched this channel. Either way, thank you so much for being with me here on my journey here at Press for Truth. I'm certainly not going to be slowing down anytime soon. Going to continue with my best efforts to bring you this information that you're often either not getting from the mainstream media or they're putting some heavy spin on it. I want to do my best to provide you with the information that you guys deserve to get. If you appreciate that, don't forget to check me out at pressfortruth.ca/donate. Once again, links for all that are located in the description below. Thank you once again, everybody, for watching. Don't forget to click the thumbs up button. Share this video with your friends and family who you think need to see it the most. And stay tuned. We're going to have more video reports coming soon, God willing. This is Dan Dicks reporting for Press for Truth. Peace out, everybody.